When we read the Bible, we often imagine distant lands, deserts, mountains, ancient cities, and kingdoms long gone. But what if I told you that many of these places still exist today? Some are thriving modern cities, others are archaeological ruins, and some are hidden beneath layers of history waiting to be rediscovered. In this video, we're traveling across the Middle East, Africa, and parts of Europe to explore ancient biblical locations and the modern countries they belong to now. This journey will help you see Scripture not as a mythic world, but as a real place with real geography, real people, and real history. If you love content that brings Scripture to life with clarity and depth, go ahead and like this video and subscribe. It helps this message reach more people. Let's begin where most of the biblical story unfolds, the land of Israel and the Palestinian territories. This region contains the majority of locations mentioned in both the Old and New Testaments. Jerusalem, the city of David, the site of Solomon's temple, the place where Jesus taught, died, and rose again, still stands today as one of the most historically and spiritually significant cities on earth. Bethlehem, the birthplace of Jesus, Nazareth, where he grew up, Capernaum, where he performed miracles, Jericho, one of the oldest cities in the world. All of these places still exist, many with archaeological layers that go back thousands of years. In this land, the ancient and the modern sit side by side. You can walk the same roads, touch the same stones, and stand in the same places where biblical history unfolded. Crossing east over the Jordan River brings us into modern-day Jordan, home to the ancient kingdoms of Moab, Ammon, and Edom. This is where Moses stood on Mount Nebo and looked into the Promised Land. It's where Ruth's story begins in the fields of Moab, and it's where ancient cities like Heshbon, Dibon, and Rabbah once stood. And of course there's Petra, the rose-red city carved into rock. While not mentioned by name in Scripture, it sits in the region historically associated with Edom. Egypt is one of the most iconic biblical lands. It's the setting of Joseph's rise to power, Israel's captivity, and the dramatic exodus under Moses. Many biblical events took place along the Nile River, a lifeline for ancient civilization. And the Sinai Peninsula remains central to the story of Moses, the burning bush, and the giving of the Ten Commandments. North of Israel lies Lebanon, home of the ancient Phoenicians. The famous cedars of Lebanon, mentioned repeatedly in Scripture, were prized for their strength and beauty. Solomon used them to build the temple. Syria includes the ancient kingdom of Aram. Damascus, one of the oldest continuously inhabited cities in the world, appears throughout the Bible, from the stories of the kings of Israel to the conversion of Paul on the road to Damascus. Modern-day Iraq contains the lands of Babylon and Assyria, two empires that shaped Israel's history. This is where Daniel interpreted dreams, where Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego faced the fiery furnace, and where the Jewish people lived in exile. The ruins of Babylon still stand today near the city of Hilla, offering a glimpse into one of the most powerful civilizations of the ancient world. Parts of the Arabian Peninsula appear in Scripture, especially the region of Midian. This is where Moses fled after leaving Egypt, where he married Zipporah, and where he encountered the burning bush. Much of the New Testament takes place in what is now Turkey. Cities like Ephesus, Galatia, Colossae, and Antioch were major centers of early Christianity. The seven churches of Revelation, Ephesus, Smyrna, Pergamum, Thyatira, Sardis, Philadelphia, and Laodicea, are all located in modern-day Turkey. Paul carried the gospel into Greece, preaching in Athens, planting churches in Corinth, Philippi, and Thessalonica, and writing letters that still shape Christian faith today. Rome was the center of the empire during the New Testament. Paul wrote letters from here, stood trial here, and according to tradition, was martyred here. Ethiopia appears in both Testaments, from the Queen of Sheba visiting Solomon to the Ethiopian eunuch baptized by Philip in the book of Acts. Armenia is traditionally associated with Mount Ararat, the resting place of Noah's Ark. While the exact location is debated, the region remains deeply tied to the story of Genesis. The Bible isn't just a spiritual text, it's a historical map. These ancient places still exist, still breathe, and still tell the story of God's work across nations and generations. When you understand where these places are today, Scripture becomes more real, more grounded, and more alive. If this helped you see the Bible in a new way, tap like, subscribe, and tell me in the comments which biblical place surprised you the most.